The debate of nature versus nurture is the same debate that we've had about what came first, the chicken or the egg. Is talent and our success moulded by our environment, or is it the genetic DNA that we inherit? Behaviourist and humanistic viewpoints cover the nurture side, which is explored in video 1, What is Talent? Whereas the nature side covers the biological perspective of DNA which creates a great athlete. What makes a talented athlete consists of many genetic traits which evolve over time. The idea of evolutionary psychology is built upon the fact that evolution via natural selection designs not only the architecture of the mind, in essence the psychological, neurological and psychosocial adaptations that enable learning and produce human behaviour, according to Buss in 1995. However, the acceleration of evolution formed eugenics, the science of improving a population by controlled breeding to increase the occurrences of desirable heritable characteristics. The devastating impact of eugenics came under Nazi Germany within the Aryan race. The 1936 Berlin Olympic Games saw Jesse Owens win 4 gold medals, which destroyed Hitler's expectations of an Aryan race triumph. What Owens' success would barely be noted is he was born in Alabama, which was known as a segregated state at the time. The lot of the black race would barely improve over the next 32 years, and Tommy Smith and John Carlos chose Mexico City Olympic Games in 1968 to demonstrate just that. The signification of racial group characteristics within modern sports continues to reflect the embodied formation of race evidence within much Enlightenment and post-Enlightenment social thought and 19th century racial science that mobilise notions of a phenotypical difference as a means to reinforce European civilization cultural natural superiority, according to Lewis in 2003. Whether it is the reification of a fundamental African American athlete prowess, the stereotypical ingenuity of white athletes, or the materialistic mythology attached to Kenya distant runners, Maguire in 1999 sees that sport can be used to provide the short-circuit signs that reinforce embodied racial pathologies. Within the Olympic context, the Black Power success cannot be overlooked, since Eddie Toland became the first African American to win 100 metres at the 1932 Los Angeles Olympic Games. Sprint events have been dominated by black athletes ever since, and in most recent times dominated by one man, Usain Bolt. Many black athletes, whether from Canada or Britain, can trace their ancestry back to Africa in the time of slavery. Even then, eugenics came back into play. Who was it who survived being exploited on cotton fields or being shipped in cargo boxes? It was the fittest. Van Damme and Wilson in 2002 researched and claims that black people are more likely to have fast-twitch muscle fibres per crucial sprinting muscle than white people, hence the black domination in sprinting events. This research can be linked back to 1976 and Richard Dawkins' introduction as memes as an analogy to genes and the ways that genes replicate and survive through time. The evolution of black genetics recognised a phenotypic advantage, a distinctive skeletal system and a muscular metabolic structures, according to a teen in 2000. This advantage has been proven that at London 2012 no white man has contested the 100 metres for 32 years. 82 participants have broken the 10 seconds and 81 have been black, the exclusion being Christophe Lemaire from France. Even with a materialistic advantage, does nurture and deliberate practice, explained in What in Talent, still have a pivotal role? Despite similarities reported in time spent in deliberate practice, in Hodge and Deakin's martial arts study with deliberate practice across other domains, the overall results did not support the idea that individual differences in expert performance reflects largely individual differences in the amount of deliberate practice. Touched upon in Video 1, What is Talent? This conclusion echoes findings of a recent meta-analysis of deliberate practice and performance with 88 eligible studies, found that deliberate practice explained for 18% of variance in sport performance, 26% for games, 21% for music and 4% for education, concluded that deliberate practice is some importance, but not as important as Erickson first argued. Findings also showed that the effect of deliberate practice on performance tended to be for larger activities that are highly predictable, such like running, than areas that are less predictable, such like fencing, according to Georgiades et al. In 2017. Despite the main indirect evidence favouring a more prominent role of nature over nurture, deliberate practice and the environmental factors are undoubtedly both critical to sporting excellence, but they do not in themselves produce elite athletes. Wang et al. Defined world-class performance as a polygenetic, multifactorial trait determined by the interaction of genes and the environment. The value of training is by no means refused, but rather it is proposed and defined as the realisation of one's genetic potential. As Darwin said, it is not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but the ones most responsive to change.